Hi, my name is Mike Downey. I am president of the United States Serra Council. At the recent Serra International Convention in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which I attended, there were many outstanding speakers and presentations. For the many Serrans who could not attend, this is an edited recording of one of the best, Cardinal Charles Maung Bo from Myanmar, the former Burma. He was elected by fellow bishops as president of the Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences. It is noteworthy that Cardinal Bo represents a country where the ruling military junta actively persecutes Catholics for their faith, even to the point of death. Last year, in the midst of the Myanmar persecution of Catholics, Cardinal Bo ordained 13 new priests. He said, "Priests are soldiers of God's army and fight for human dignity and justice," adding that a priest is another Christ, alter Christus. Here are the amazing words of this courageous and outspoken Catholic leader, Cardinal Bo.
In this presentation, I intend to highlight some of the significant challenges faced in Asia regarding the decline of vocations to priestly and religious life. Various issues impact the declining numbers and never be narrowed down to just one. Many factors are in play, and the interplay of these challenges show itself in many ways. Therefore, given my time, I have highlighted 5 challenges. These are not exhaustive, but intended to help us move to a deeper reflection and a call for further action. Challenge 1. Rapid economic development in Asia. In a report published by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, earlier this year, Asia is projected to see further dynamic economic growth. The rapid economic development in Asia has seen a corresponding decline in vocations in many developing countries. Of course, you see Bangkok and Myanmar. Bangkok and Myanmar, although it's a neighboring country, here is another world and Myanmar is another world. When I came here in the hotel, I did not know how to switch on lights. China Ron taught me how to do that one. I had to attend the Chushin class how to light the one. Because in Myanmar, now currently, even in Yangon, this capital, we have electricity for 12 hours a day. Some other places, just 4 hours of electricity a day. So when the light comes, electricity comes, we are very happy. We're very happy and we clap hands. We have the reason to rejoice because we have electricity for another 12 hours. So according to the National Bureau of Economic Growth, religiosity tends to decline with economic development. Some research points to the fact that the world's poorest countries are also the most religious. If it is true, then we see a correlation between the declining vocations and rapidly developing economics in countries that would have been considered poor in the past. As economies grow, especially in developing nations, the measure for what is considered the benchmark for a better quality of life keeps increasing. The pursuit of a greater wealth drives the lives of many people and families. These directly affect the dynamics of a family. I will speak on a separate point. Individuals now become obsessed with the power of wealth and greed. And such a mindset makes individuals think less of generosity and self-giving. The greed for wealth generates a more selfish society driven by itself and for itself. I and me and mine. As Asian economies grow, continue to grow, caused by better trade partners and direct foreign investments, the qualities of life in urban areas will continue to rise. Even those in rural areas will be enticed by this better life propaganda to leave their homes, searching for this new promised land. As Pope Francis points out, modern culture is very seductive, tempting people away from religious life with the promises of easy sex, material gain, and instant gratification. So that is a challenge number one, rapid economic development. Challenge two, changes in family structures. Family change is occurring throughout Asia. It is a fact that all of us have seen and experienced in our own countries and families. Though the trends vary from region to region or country to country, these changes directly impact the challenge to vocation, to holy orders and religious life. The changes include fertility decline. For example, in Myanmar, ordinary families would have 5, 7 children, some would have 12, 13 children, but now reduced to 2 or 3 or 4. 4 is still great for other ways. So fertility decline means a low birth rate, increasing diverse rates. Of course, in our context, the stability of families is still very good. Say, 90% of our families are still stable there. I would say of my own country, 90%. The changes include so the rising average age of marriage, single-parent families, and absent parent syndrome, where parents are away for work and children are brought up by grandparents or relatives. The traditional family is today being replaced by newer forms of family. Single mothers, unmarried couples, cohabitation, working parent families, childless couples, interfaith, intercultural families, and many more. So what we used to consider as the norm in the past, today we see newer challenges. Some of these challenges are caused by choice and others out of necessity. We have often said that the family is a seedbed for vocation. When speaking about the family, St. John Paul II said, the family is the primary and most excellent seabed for vocations to a life of consecration to the kingdom of God. So in the past, the greatest hopes of any Catholic family would be to have one or more of their children uniquely by God for his service. So in the past, the families will have at least one priest, one sister in their family. In an ideal situation, the family must manifest a fervent commitment to increasing and fostering a culture of vocation. See, when we were young, in the evening, in our village, every family would be praying the rosary. You could hear from each family, every family. We are all taken up by for the Patrick patron, the family, they prays together, stays together. But it doesn't happen now. To fit today, families are confronted with challenges never experienced before. Such challenges lead to a lack of communication in the family, a lack of time for prayer, and perhaps even a lack of presence to one another because of financial responsibilities, taking parents away from each other. From experience, we see that the Christian family who strives to live their faith fervently is open to a life of service and fulfill its duty to God and neighbor, becoming the rich soil that gives rise to children, open to the priesthood and the religious life. In an article published in 2014, I believe the author points out clearly that, I quote, the family must be a school of love, where love is learned through words and deed. Further, the faith must be lived with great vigor. If the gospel is not taught and lived in the home, if the members of the family do not embrace the truth that freedom is for a life of virtue, it will be difficult for our children to grow up with a sense of mission, of being called to a vocation. Therefore, the new landscape of family structure presents a more significant challenge of how vocations of holy orders and religious life are to be nurtured. The age-old tried and tested methods needs to be revisited and find new pathways. Now I go to number 3, challenge number 3, technological and ideological impact. Well, it was mentioned some point by Cardinal yesterday. If in the past we had been concerned about the industrial revolution, today we must be more concerned with the digital revolution. The digital revolution has impacted the lives of each one of us. Doesn't exclude anybody. It also affected even the bishops. The digital revolution has impacted the lives of each one of us. From how we communicate to how we think and engage with life, digital technology has imprinted us. While the digital revolution is inevitable, we know it can bring good and bad outcomes. It is a blessing and a curse. We also know that such technologies have created disparities and inequalities in the Asian population. The easy access to information, good and bad, via digital technologies has also opened the world of knowledge to a broader audience. With the dawn and rapid rise of digital technology, The challenge is that we have an overload of information that I need not explain anything. You know more than myself. In the midst of this, to discern what is true and what is fake, the digital revolution has changed our lives. I am not sure of other places, but even in the poor country like Myanmar, young priests and young sisters will spend hours and hours going through the Facebook and Twitter and the internet. Recently, I visited the most dominant Buddhist place, the Bagan, which existed 12th century from the time of the kings, the Buddhist area. When I visited there, at the entrance of a monastery, I saw 5 Buddhist monks, age of 4 or 5, each one, 5 of them sitting on a bench and going through their own what is it, Facebook and all these monks of 5. They say that if you want to destroy a monastery or anything, put internet into each room and you can destroy either Christian monasteries or the Buddhist monasteries. Why it is true that technology has made us rethink life, we also see that the ideological impact that comes together with the digital revolution cannot be negated entirely. We are confronted with materialism, secularism, and even idealism. Young people today process information in ways that even escaped us very often. Priorities, value systems, and even modes of existence and communication are complex. It is said that every generation operates differently. Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, and now Generation Alpha. Each confronted and impacted with new ideological goals regarding life, priorities, and the values. In this most post-modern culture, speaking of the sincere gift of self in promoting vocations, makes no sense to many, if not most. Often, the focus is on the self, the autonomous individual, and the self is the measure of everything. In such a scenario, offering a way of life anchored on following Christ become tougher, become harder. We are also confronted with the culture of imitating celebrities. Myanmar people, the young people, would like to have the hairstyle of the actor or the actresses, or the model girls. In Myanmar, the young people would like to get the cosmetics coming from Korea. Yesterday somebody asked me, Bishop, you are 75 and how is that your hair is still black? And I said because of my special gene and because of the modern technology maybe. Mea culpa, through my fault. We are confronted with the imitating celebrities, no longer the saints of the past, in the past. It is drowning young people into illusory, young people, perfect lives. Some studies show that compared to previous generations, young people today want lots of money and nice things, but are less likely to say that they are willing to work hard to earn them. In the light of this trend, it even renounced the world's way. In light of this trend, it is more unlikely for young people to consider a life of such sacrifice and even renounce the world's way. There is a peer pressure to conform to the world's practices rather than the gospel. A life where the return on investment may not be tangible and self-satisfying. Challenge number 4, poverty and migration. According to the World Bank, more than 320 million people in Asia live in extreme poverty, a reality we face in many different ways across this region. As much as there is economic growth in Asia, as I mentioned it earlier, we also see economic growth inequality. Some regions experience extreme poverty. Therefore, for many of the young people in our country today, the primary motivation for choosing one's vocation is getting out of the vicious circle or cycle of poverty. Young people are forced to leave their homes very early in search of employment to sustain their families. This happens maybe in the Philippines, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. The shifting economic and social changes cause labor migration in many parts of Asia. Internal and transnational migration for financial purposes is not only because the pursuit of wealth and better living, but there are other situations where it becomes necessary for the survival of the individual and the families dependent on financial help. Apart from economic reasons for migration, the political unrest in some parts of Asia forces young people and families to flee their countries. Particularly, I'm aware of my own country, Myanmar. The reality is that many people are forced to migrate because of a war, civil war, or state policies which discriminate against particular categories of citizens or the political opponents of those in power. Political instability exacerbate the migration flow. You see the red dots. There is the presence of the Serra communities in Myanmar. It is Myanmar now is soaked with blood. These are I'm just saying the present situation where the battles and fights between the military and the PDF, not from the computer PDF, no? People defend force. People defend force. This is all the areas that there are all the fighting going on, killing each other. One group killing, so military killing the civilians, also PDF killing the soldiers. That's happening already 2 years since 2021, February the 1st, when the military took over the coup. So many of the seminarians also like to join the PDF. So they left the seminary and joined the PDF. So in Myanmar, what is happening is that 1/3 of the young people become PDF soldiers, PDF hosts. 1/3 of them are trying to leave the country, and 1/3 of our young people they don't know what to do for the moment. So this is the line that people are trying to leave the country to work. That they come to the office for the passports. Are daily crowded so that we might migrate to other countries, to Japan, to Korea, to Thailand, Malaysia. Everybody, young people trying to leave just for their security, for financial matters, or maybe for to save their life. So this is the daily lining up for passports. So 1/3 of our young people
1 ใน 3
become
ของ
a
เยาวชน
PDF,
ได้เข้า
fighting against
อยู่ในกองทัพ
the
เดือน
military.
ที่จะต่อสู้กับกองทัพ
So of course, the military has the upper hand, burning down the villages,
เสียหาย
IDP camps in the monasteries in the country. And for that, of course,
ไปพักอยู่ใน
as Bishop was telling, Bishop Francis Xavier Vira, so Bishop calls to make Burmese refugees feel included. Just recently, 4,000 Catholics, young people, migrated to Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai.
เชียงใหม่เชียงราย
เชียงราย
อพยพ
We are very grateful to Bishop Vira for accepting our
ได้ยอ
refugees.
มดาผู้อพยพชาวพม่าเป็นบ้านเมืองของพ่อมาอยู่ที่เชียงใหม่และเชียงราย
So in such a painful circumstances, it is not easy to speak of vocations as a true calling from God,
แนะนำเป็นการเรื่อง
where lives are traumatized by the atrocities done by the unjust political regimes. Some people have no power to fight back and therefore seek to flee elsewhere.
จะหนีไปอยู่ที่อื่น
Recently, the government, the military, tried to ask all the Christian leaders for peace building. For peace building, what's happening is, so they are asking the Christian leaders for peace building. And they put me as the president of the peace
คริสตช
building.
นผู้นำของคริสตชน
Where are we now? Where are we? Where to
อยู่
stand?
ที่ไหนมัน
I myself, I'm thinking whether to fight or to flight.
พยายามที่จะ
Whereas a bishop, I cannot afford to run away.
แต่ในฐานะที่
Otherwise,
พระสังฆ
John,
ราช
Pope Francis
ห
will
นีไป
say,
ไหนได้ก็ให้กำลังใจ
you go and die with your people.
ขอท่านจงอยู่กับลูกแกะหรืออยู่กับ
So here,
หลวงพ่อ
we hear about vocations among the migrant communities, of course, in other countries. They are still few and far apart. So last one. My,
สุดท้ายนะครับเดี๋ยวพ่อขอ
good
พูด
that
สุดท้าย
your time for questions is not
ขอ
given.
เวลาเดี๋ยวจะต้องมีเวลาสลับตอบคำถามด้วย เดี๋ยวจะไม่มีเวลา
Last one is the
คำถาม
lack of
ความท้าทาย
role models.
ความท้าทายประการที่ห้า
Role models play an integral role in shaping the society.
ในการสร้างสรรค์
Young people
คนหนุ่มสาว
look for authentic and credible witnesses and role models.
ที่แท้จริง
A role model must demonstrate passion
แบบ
and inspire others. Most of us, or even all of us,
และสร้าง
have encountered a priest or consecrated man or woman who has inspired us somehow. like my parish priest inspired me to become a priest.
เหมือนชาววัด
They leave behind an imprint that shapes our vision and mission. I'm not speaking about just speaking about the saint in the past, but people who have really encountered. Young people, many of them are waiting to be invited. I remember fact of the one CSW, the Christian Solidarity Worldwide, and Anglican who is working, Ben Rogers, is a Hong Kong watcher, yeah? He's a watcher, Christian Solidarity. He was Anglican. I came to know him, met him once or twice at the airport in London and became friendly with him. And he told me that he's very much interested in the life of Pope Francis and also read many books of them written by Pope Benedict XVI that are interested in Catholicism was an
หลาย
Anglican.
คนสนใจ
So suddenly I told him that in case you decide to become a Catholic, I will receive you in my cathedral. That invitation, friendly invitation, really changed his mind. And on the following year, he said, I want to become a Catholic. So I received him 7 years ago in the cathedral on Palm Sunday. He was rebaptized and confirmed. He said, I am his spiritual director and mentor. In reality, he is more spiritual than myself, more learned than myself. And I said, that's the credit I receive without anything at all from my part. Yes, Colonel. So there are people, that young people, are waiting for a model. Yes. Today, more than ever, we priests and consecrated men and women must look at ourselves in the mirror and ask if we are inspiring others through our mission. Let us look at our mirror. I look at the mirror and I said, oh, though I'm 75, I look still very young. To tell you the truth, a few months ago, I went to the hospital and get my heart, the echo test. The result was that the doctor told me, though you are 75, your heart is like that of a 30-year-old young man.
30 ปีนะครับไปบอกว่าอายุ70
All the same, I have to
คนหนุ่ม
go up. So if we are inspired through our mission, there is much to be done to inspire young men and women. But often, we fail to do this for various reasons. Secularization and materialism have also clothed their way into the lives of priests and consecrated men and women. In one of his homilies, Pope Francis said that when materialism takes over, become self-absorbed and find security in material things, which ultimately rob us of our face, our human face. In the same way, when the materialism takes over our expression of the priesthood of Jesus Christ, we can become self-absorbed, which ultimately robs us of the ability to be the face of the good shepherd and inspire others. Yesterday, as Cardinal Bo was telling, instead we project the angry face, bossy face, bully face, face of authority. I know you don't know. Those are things that we might project to people. The priests and consecrated men and women exist within the context of the church and the larger society. We cannot remove ourselves from the world, the social, cultural context, and the place and time we exist. Therefore, while we are expected to be a leaven in the world, we can also be influenced by the world and its values. The threat of secularization and materialism
ชื่อแบบโลกีวิสัยวัตถุนิยมมีอยู่จริง
is very real
ควร
in the priestly and religious way of life. It is so easy because of the power of authority this vocation imposes on others. If we are not careful, these positions of authority may detract us from our true calling to an ardent love that makes us an obligation to God and our neighbor. Priesthood and consecrated life have been poorly portrayed, and loss of trust and credibility directly affects the decline in some places. The scandals, mention of course, scandals of sexual abuse, financial misappropriation, abuse of power, clericalism. This often have been used by Pope, clericalism, fighting against clericalism. It's the fault of the clergy as well as the laity. The priest say, I know everything. The lady will say, Father, you know everything. You are the one that you know more learned. You decide for us. In a sense, the lady empower the clergy to be more clericalism, to be more clerical. And the corruption that come to light so often in the media do not portray the life of a priest and consecrated men and women as an attractive way of life.
ซึ่ง
Abuse and financial misappropriation